Thank you for downloading the Broadmead Community Church Sermon Podcast. We hope you enjoy it.
We're thinking about how we make decisions today. How did you make a decision, particularly when it was a 7 or something like that? That's really hard to make a decision about whether you're going to go higher or lower. Okay, let's have a guess. How many decisions on average do you think you make each day? How many decisions? 20. Higher. 500. It's higher than 500. Yes, Matteo. Oh, well, come on, Matteo. We've moved on from the chocolates. Come on. Seriously, come on. How many you made a decision there to still talk about chocolates, and that was the wrong decision. Okay. How many decisions do you make a day? 50. Much higher than that. Come on. 1,000. Much higher than 1,000. Yes, Matilda. No, much higher than 1,000. You make, on average, 34,000 decisions a day. You make, on average, 2,000 decisions an hour. In fact, you make one decision every 2 seconds in your life. You see, you've already made loads of decisions. You made a decision about what time to get up today. Was it going to be a rush to get here? You made a decision about what you were going to wear, and some of you made the wrong decision. You made a decision about what you were going to eat for breakfast, and some of you now are thinking, I made the wrong decision. You made a decision about how you were going to get here. You made a decision about where you were going to sit. You made a decision about whether you were going to join in with the action song, or do you think I can hide behind the person in front of me and get away with it and Anna won't notice that I'm not joining in. You even made a decision about whether you were going to go to the toilet before the service started, and maybe you're now living with regret. Okay. We all make decisions all the time. Some of them are of little importance, but some of them are life-changing. Will I date this person? Will I take this job? Will I have that extra drink? Will I break that speed limit? Will I lie to that person? Will I take those subjects at school or those subjects? Will I decide not to do my homework tonight or miss that appointment? You see, our decisions that we make every single day have an impact on us, and they also have an impact on others as well. You see, personal decisions that you make have generational impacts. Now, I've probably told this story before, but I haven't told it for a long time, and I was reminded of it the other day. Do you know why I'm a pastor of a church? Because my dad took up smoking. Now, you may be thinking, what on earth? So my dad's 15, 16. And things are not particularly easy at home. In fact, my granddad was an alcoholic, and so my dad wanted to get out of the house when he could. And one of the things that his mates did was smoke. And so what they did was on a Sunday afternoon, they used to go to something called Crusaders. Some of you will know Crusaders. It's a Bible class on a Sunday afternoon. There wasn't much going on. In fact, nothing was open on a Sunday afternoon. And so they used to go, and then my dad used to say to his mum and dad that the class was 2 hours long, and they were so impressed that he was studying the Bible for 2 hours. But actually the class was only an hour long, and him and his mates would go to the Bible class for an hour and then go into the woods behind and climb the trees and smoke in the trees for an hour afterwards. That's what they did. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to smoke. And so my dad's desire to smoke was the reason that I'm here now, because gradually he became more impressed with the leaders at the Crusader Bible class and less impressed with smoking. So much so that as a 17-year-old, he gave his life to Christ and then met my mum, and I grew up in a church environment, and despite all that I said about never working for a church, here I am. You see, decisions that my dad made have generational impacts. But also, private decisions that we make have public outcomes. We decide something in private, yet sometimes everyone sees the outcome of that decision. When I finished my nursing exam, me and my fellow students, we went out on the town and we drank quite a bit. And I decided at that point the decision I would make was to get my nose pierced. I probably had enough alcohol in my system not to feel any pain. I made a private decision at that moment to get my nose pierced. I lived with the consequences of that, thankfully for only a few days before I realised that it looked ridiculous because my nose was too small to pull it off. But we all, don't we, make some decisions in private which have public, that actually have public outcomes. And so over this short series called Better Decisions, Fewer Regrets, we're going to find out if there is a way to make better decisions in all areas of our lives. Because our decisions determine the direction and the quality of our lives. Let me say that again. Our decisions determine the direction and the quality of our lives. Decisions are like the steering wheel of our life. The decisions you and others make have a profound effect on your future life. And over the course of this series, we're going to be looking each week at one question, 5 questions all in all, which I hope will help us to make good decisions and have fewer regrets. Wouldn't that be good? Wouldn't that be good if all the decisions we made, none of them led to regrets? So Jesus, as you see there in the story, is asked by these brothers, or by one of the brothers, tell him to share, tell him to make a different decision. And Jesus actually doesn't tell him what to do. He doesn't make the decision for them, because Jesus wants to equip them to make good decisions. So he tells them a story. He wants to bring wisdom into their decision-making process. And you may have done that as a parent. If you were a parent here, your child says, what shall I do? And rather than telling them what to do, you seek to bring wisdom into them. Karen's dad used to do that quite often, but then he would say, you do what you want to do, but I'll be very disappointed if you do that, which is quite loaded, but there we go. He wants these 2 brothers to listen to the story and ask better questions, because good questions help us make better decisions, which gives us good outcomes. And I hope, as followers of Jesus, we want all of us to make wise decisions, better, God-filled, wise decisions that leave us with fewer regrets. Now, I'm sure, as we indicated earlier, that we'd all want to change some of our previous decisions. Because as we saw there, many of us live with some sort of regret. Maybe the regret for eating that cake, or not doing that exercise, or dating that person, or telling that lie, or saying those words, or buying that item, or taking up that opportunity, or not taking up that opportunity, or staying up too late, or marrying that person, or not doing that homework, or missing that appointment. And we know, don't we, that some of our decisions have small impacts and some have huge life-changing impacts. But here's another truth. Bad decisions never result in good outcomes. We know that's the problem we have. We want good outcomes, therefore we need to make good decisions. But one of the problems that I find, and you may be the same, is it's really easy to be able to make good decisions for other people. We know what other people should do, but so often we struggle to make the decisions ourselves. Now, this beautiful, lovely cake, if I'm presented with this, I know, as nice as it is, it's not going to help me if I want to maintain a good diet. But there are so much emotions involved in this, because I look at it and I look at its goodness, and it just looks delicious, and I don't know about you, but cakes sometimes speak to me. I don't know. Eat me, Adam, eat me. Now, if Rob had this cake and he said, oh, do you think I should eat this, Adam? And I go, well, Rob, maybe not. Because I'm not emotionally involved in that. I can see it objectively, but this cake now here, it's got all my emotions involved in it. We know what other people should do, but so often we find it hard to make decisions ourselves which are better ones. But in our story today, Jesus tells us about a man who made a bad decision. He hadn't asked himself the important questions. He thought he was doing what was right for him, but failed to see that he wasn't asking himself the right questions. And that was the story of his life and how it ended. He thought the best thing for him to do was get more wealth, bigger stores, and then he could sit back and enjoy it. But actually, he hadn't asked himself the right questions. Where should my treasure truly be? I wonder, what do you want the story of your life to be? The truth is, we get to decide one decision at a time. And we want to, through this short series, teach you to simply do three things. Ask great questions. Ask great questions. Every time you come up to a major decision in your life, ask great questions. Then answer honestly. Answer honestly. And then finally act accordingly. Ask great questions, answer honestly, and act accordingly. To always be thinking, what is the wise thing to do in this situation? I hope as Jesus followers we want to do this, because today's decisions turn up in tomorrow's circumstances. Let's have a look quickly at the Bible. Bible verse from Proverbs 27 verse 12 simply says this from the Passion Translation. A wise, shrewd person discerns the danger ahead and prepares themselves, but the naive simpleton never looks ahead and suffers the consequences. Let me read that again. A wise, shrewd person discerns the dangers ahead and prepares themselves. But the naive simpleton never looks ahead and suffers the consequences. Shrewd simply means a sharp power of judgment. So a wise person who's got a sharp judgment. A person who makes good judgments, who asks good questions of themselves, can see the trouble that is ahead. They ask the right questions, they get godly wisdom, and they have fewer regrets. A foolish person goes on without thinking, without wisdom, without asking the right question, and they suffer the consequences. And so we're going to teach you over this series to ask better questions. That will mean that you will be considered as a wise person, a person who makes good decisions, good, godly decisions, which leads to better outcomes and helps you to avoid living with further regret. We sang it earlier, you are my true north. We want to look to God in all circumstances. Another verse from Proverbs 15 this time, verse 22. Your plans will fall apart right in front of you if you fail to get good advice. But if you first seek out multiple counselors, you'll watch your plans succeed. I want you through this series to learn how to ask better questions and receive godly wisdom, because God is your true north. Let's pray. I'm going to invite the worship band to come and lead us. Father,
if you've enjoyed this podcast, why not check us out on all social media platforms or visit broadmead.org.uk.